First, Her Royal Highness, wearing a coat of pink, is presented to the Spurs, and their skipper, Alan Murray. With her, Mr. Len Shipman, President of the Football League. Martin Peters and Steve Perryman at 19, the youngest player ever to play in a Football League Cup final at Wembley. Pat Jennings, the goalkeeper. And Joe Kinnear. Cyril Knowles. The moment when the muscles need flexing. And now the turn of Aston Villa. And surely all the neutrals in the stadium this afternoon must be on the side of the underdogs, although Villa would never see themselves as underdogs. Here's Brian Godfrey, their skipper, presenting Chico Hamilton and Pat McMahon, Willie Anderson, the man who was with Manchester United. Here they go. Away we go with Aston Villa. First, the Aston Villa team, unchanged from the side that lost at Bury last week. David Gibson, a really experienced substitute, knows what Wembley is all about. Andy Lockhead, the number 9, who came here with Leicester and lost. Tremendously good seasons with Burnley. He took a time, in fact, to settle down at Villa, and now is really in good scoring form for them. Meanwhile, Tottenham, with so much First Division experience, one of the sweetest moving sides in the First Division at the moment, but no Mike England at 5. His ankle injury won't permit him to play. Peter Collins, as we say, was there at number 5 for them. And their skipper, of course, Alan Mallory, the man who skippered England recently in Malta. So Aston Villa get the 1971 Football League Cup final underway in their claret shirts with the blue sleeves, defending the goal now to our left. Here's Kinnear, allowing that to go into touch for a throw to Tottenham Hotspur. Spurs, who've appeared in 5 FA Cup finals and won the lot. Villa, who've appeared in 9 rather, and won 7 of them. So 2 sides with tremendous cup fighting traditions here at Wembley this afternoon. Here's Lockhead. And Hamilton looking to get in behind Knowles, but Knowles booting that one to the safety of the crowd. Always tense moments, and tension at Wembley can kill a side. It's the side that can settle down quickest and play good, relaxed football. McMahon, a nice little flick there for Anderson. Spurs under pressure right away, but a goal kick. Well, certainly a warning there for Tottenham in the opening minute of this game, with Pat McMahon playing a beautiful little ball here for the man, Willie Anderson. Chivers. Again, the ball played off first time, didn't come off for Spurs. Gilzine, and now to Bean. Perryman. Gilzine trying to play it back to Perryman, succeeding. Knowles with Neighbour outside him. Gilzine at the far side, Peters too. Mullery there looking to belt it. And a ricochet, in fact, off Martin Peters into the arms of John Dunn. And so Pat McMahon. Bruce Rioch. And a fairly aimless ball, I must say, there by Rioch. Beale keeping it in play. Turnbull, very positive indeed. They're getting before Chivers. McMahon, beautiful play there by McMahon. Good break here by Aston Villa. Hamilton going past Knowles. But not the second time, but Knowles forced to give away the corner. A good, swift and a sure-looking strike there by the Villa. McMahon and Hamilton. Hamilton with the corner. Curling it in low again, straight for Knowles by that near post. Bradley. Hamilton. Bradley. Gilzean should get ahead to that one. Into injury time at the end of this first half. Knowles, only as far as Godfrey. And again, Villa keeping this pressure on the Spurs. Rioch. Challenged by Mallory, but finding Aitken. Peters this time to get it away, and again not very far, but Godfrey's reflex header going there for Jennings. Perryman, and now Peters. Knowles. Bradley, Godfrey. Referee Jim Finney getting his sign from the linesman that as far as they're concerned 45 minutes is up. But Aitken. And the whistle in fact goes for half-time. Well done for the Aston Villa. Here's Vic Crow, the manager, leading the way for them. He must be mightily pleased with the way his side have shaped against Spurs in the first half. Alan Gilzean, who's had the odd chance for Spurs, but really it hasn't come off for them in the first half. And a lot for Spurs to do in the second half. Andy Lockhead, a constant threat, a willing worker. So the half-time score in the Football League Cup final here at Wembley is Aston Villa 0, Spurs 0. So Spurs then preparing to kick off for the start of the second half, being held and deservedly held by third division Aston Villa. In the final of a tournament that, of course, is used to its upsets. Two third division sides have already won this trophy here at Wembley. Queen's Park Rangers in 1967 and Swindon in 1969. So 0-0, Spurs now defending the goal to our left, and Hamilton for Aston Villa. Tyler turning almost effortlessly inside Gilzean there, but now Beale finding Alan Gilzean. Back to Philip Beale. Again, that Spurs clockwork movement is clogged up again as Villa go away with Hamilton, but Hamilton in turn losing it into touch, and a throw for Spurs by Cyril Knowles. A tournament that really has increased also in popularity year by year for the third successive year. The crowd here meaning that more than 2 million people have seen the Football League Cup this season. Perryman now, Collins, and Beale. And in goes Bradley very quickly. And Knowles somehow keeping that ball in play and almost putting it there. In fact, putting it in the path of Lockhead, and now Hamilton. And Hamilton with a shot. Oh, just fractionally over that Spurs crossbar. There really wasn't more than a couple of inches to spare in that one. Made out of nothing, really, when Knowles lost it over on the touchline to Lockhead, and Hamilton really motored into that Spurs penalty area. In fact, it looked for one moment as though it might just dip underneath Pat Jennings' crossbar, but it didn't. Chivers. Mullery trying to pounce on it, Rioch going in hard, and it must have gone off Rioch for a throw to Tottenham. Mullery with it. Perryman jinking and jerking about the place, Gilzean rolling on the floor, and so it's Kinnear. Down he goes from Rioch. So Tottenham's free kick. Quickly taken by Peters, and Chivers was nearly there in for it. Chivers still going in, and Dunn bravely getting a fist to it. The old 1-2 that have fought First Division sides out before, the quick free kick by Peters, Chivers fasting on the end of it, but he didn't quite catch out the Villa. Chivers with a long throw, Dunn waiting and watching it, and Gilzean also, but Aitken putting it behind. So a corner to Spurs. Aitken looks as though he got it in the side as he went for that one with Gilzean. Charlie Aitken, over 400 appearances for the Villa. He's not going to come off in a cup final for them, but Mallory, not a very good corner by him. Straight to Bruce Rioch. And a long clearance by Rioch, turned off beautifully there by Hamilton for Anderson. That's the sort of thing that Spurs have been trying to do and failing. But Anderson now for the Villa. Hamilton, Lockett is right up there. So too is Rioch. And so was McMahon on the far side, but Peter stopped it getting to him, and so it's Neighbour. Mullery. And Gilzine, at last in a bit of space. But not doing very much with it. Villa are also almost getting themselves into trouble there as one man cannoned into another. Chivers fighting back hard. They're playing the player and not the ball. And Villa's free kick. Fred Turnbull to take it. They're pushing there between Lockhead and Collins, and Kinnear getting a foot to it. So Villa's throw. If anything, Villa looking even more dangerous in the early minutes of the second half than they did in the first. Anderson. And a goal kick. Villa crowd behind that goal, hopefully cheering for a corner. But I should think Jim Finney was a good 50 yards closer to that incident than they were. And he's given the goal kick to the Spurs. All come down the M1 from the Midlands. Pat Jennings with the kick. Turnbull again beating Chivers in the air. Turnbull's done a good job for the Villa. Here's Chivers again, though, attacking him on the ground this time. Still in possession, Chivers. Gilzine, now Mullery! Will he hammer it? No! Again, that Villa defence closed in so quickly, but certainly the best-looking Spurs move for quite some time, and a corner for them. Both Chivers and Mullery were right in there at the death. Chivers moving so nimbly for a big man. Mullery with the corner. Collins right up on that Villa goal line. And Peters trying to get in and nod it powerfully downwards. And Dunn to pick up the ball for a goal kick to Aston Villa. Lockhead bobbing and weaving there. Anderson also waiting for it. Collins beating Lockhead in the air. Bruce Rioch. Challenged by Perryman, and Perryman obstructing him. Villa's free kick. Tyler to take it. And all the Villa big guns are on. Lockhead to turn it on. Spurs in trouble. Hamilton right there, waiting for each other, and the inquests that are going on in that Spurs defence. And quite rightly so. Peters was in the middle of it. Knowles was in the middle of it. Beale as well. And Kinnear to finally hack it away. Spurs so very nearly caught out there, and if they'd only themselves to blame. Here's the corner coming across. Peters this time, half getting it away. Godfrey doing very well indeed. Beale once more. Trying to coolly play himself out of trouble. Knowles, a long one away. That really was Spurs at their worst, and the understanding still isn't coming on. Mullery and Gilzine both leaving that one to each other. Perryman. Peters quite easily beaten there by Aitken, and now Villa setting it up again. Hamilton, and this time Rioch through. Stopped beautifully though by Beale. Superb defence by Beale. My goodness, and Perryman then putting it away after the challenge on Pat Jennings that seems to have knocked him sideways. Bruce Rioch to take the throw. Anderson. And now Hamilton. Good looking cross there by Hamilton. Lockhead at the far side. Jennings trying to fist it away. Collins put him under pressure, and Collins finally getting him out of trouble as well. Spurs really are up against it now. Throw to them on the far side. Knowles with it. Neighbour. Linesman flagging on the far side for a free kick to Tottenham. Chivers coming hard for that one and getting it and finding Gilzean. There goes Peters after it as well, but Tyler getting there first. Calmly back to Dunn. Swept up very well in that back four, Brian Tyler, this afternoon. Knowles. Now Chivers. Even the short passes, they don't seem to be able to play accurately enough, Spurs, at the moment. Mullery. Chivers. Gilzean. Mullery again going hard in on that one. Peters, he couldn't control it, but Rioch could. Anderson. Brought down by Kinnear. Villa this time trying to steal a few yards, and it's going to be Tyler to take the kick. Anderson. Almost getting it between Kinnear's legs, but Perryman was there this time. Calm assurance of that youngster. Oh, but a little too calm, because he's let Rioch through. Down goes Jennings. Oh, and in goes Lockhead, and Jennings grabbing that at the second goal. Having a war of words too with Kinnear. I think Kinnear thinking that Lockhead went in too little vigorously on Jennings, and in fact it's a free kick for the Spurs. Superb save though by Jennings. Steve Perryman just a little too casual, which led up to it. Gilzean between Godfrey's legs, but it seems whenever you beat one Villa player, there's always another one to cover up for him. Now Peters to Gilzean, and that's Turnbull going in, almost as though his life depended on it. Claiming, in fact, that the ball last came off Gilzean, but Jim Finney says no. Spurs throw. Perryman. Neighbour. Kinnear and Hamilton. Kinnear hitting it sideways there for Mullery. Beale. Chivers looking for it with his head. Gilzean, this must be a chance for Spurs as Neighbour goes in. Chivers! Martin Chivers! Spurs are ahead, and they really don't deserve to be. What a tragic blow for the Villa, and what a relief for Spurs, for them and for their supporters. Martin Chivers putting them into the lead after that rebound had come so invitingly for him, putting Spurs ahead now with 11 minutes to go. Chivers, his 29th goal of the season. And a scoreline really that bears no resemblance to the way this game has gone. But now Spurs away again. Knowles, a flick outside for Neighbour, who did so much in the build-up last time. Gilzean! Oh, a save, an instinctive save by Dunn. If you ask John Dunn how he saved that, he'd never know. Somehow that cannoned off his legs. But Villa deserved a bit of luck. Villa's throw. Now Brian Godfrey, this is where the true test of captaincy comes out. And here he goes, Brian Godfrey. McMahon to Hamilton. Godfrey again, good play by Villa. McMahon, stopped by Beale, and good defence by him. Now there's some real challenge about the game as Mullery takes it up for Tottenham. To Jimmy Neighbour. Gilzine. And here's Kinnear. Peters begging for it on this side of the field. Neighbour trying to hammer it in and cannoning off Aitken. Perryman. Knowles. Perryman. Mullery. Chivers. Turned across there, Peters looking for it, Gilzine was behind him, Mullery. Mullery again for Gilzine. Oh, some wild kicking there again by Godfrey. Right under the eyes of the linesman too. Perryman going hard in on this one. And John Dunn for the Villa. Hamilton to McMahon. Now they are stopping and looking, and Spurs are attacking much quicker as Chivers now. Good control by Chivers. And he's done it again! Martin Chivers! Oh, what a goal by Chivers! Oh, what a tremendous goal! All the control and the cheek and the finishing by Martin Chivers, 2-0. That had the lot. Chivers, who only a year ago the Spurs crowd couldn't get off his back. He couldn't recover from a bad knee injury, and they were onto him the whole time. His comeback has been one of the great stories of the season, Martin Chivers, to an England cap, and now 2 goals in a Wembley final. Come from Tottenham. Godfrey. What a cruel place Wembley can be, and it has been this afternoon for the Villa. Free kick. Well, if you're going to strike killer blows, I suppose you want to strike them in the last 10 minutes. Spurs now 2 up. With something like 7 minutes to go. Well, and I actually think there's some relief in that Tottenham bench as well. Gilzine to flick it on, Mullery looking for it, but Rioch to put it back to Dunn. Tyler. And Hamilton, he couldn't keep it in, it went out. Billy Nicholson, third from the left as you look at it there, sitting bolt upright, showing none of his feelings. Inscrutable face of Billy Nick. Peters. For the last 5 minutes, Spurs have looked themselves, and it's been the only time in the match when they have. Tyler cutting that one out from neighbour quite easily. Now Bradley. Perryman, oh, he put that straight for Rioch. And now can Rioch, oh, beautiful play by Rioch. Oh, bad luck, Rioch. That was a great run by the Villa player. Completely outstripping Philip Beale, who's down injured. And Beale by no means is a slouch. Well, it's that sort of skill that makes Bruce Rioch worth the £100,000 that Villa paid for him from Luton Town. Beale looks as though he's all right again, a real star in that Spurs defence. Beale has played superbly. Here's the corner for the Villa. Everybody up there, including Turnbull. McMahon turning it back there, Godfrey turning it in, and it's Chivers. And that's gone off a Villa player for a throw to Spurs. Aitken hopefully taking it, but that quite clearly came off a Villa player. badly in trouble there for a moment, then getting it back to Dunn. Kinnear, Chivers. Nice deft touch again by Chivers. He's looking for his hat-trick as Chivers. On and on. And now Peters to hammer it. Now Chivers, is this the hat-trick? No. Anderson looking to get on the far side of Knowles. Here's Willie Anderson. Nice little cross there, but too hard for Andy Lockhead, who at that moment had made a run towards the near post. Two minutes now of injury time. Aitken finding time still for a word with Gilzean, and Gilzean back. Now they're getting into real action there, and it's Gilzean who nodded it on. But Tyler who gets it away for the Villa. Lockhead fastening on it, and the final whistle goes. Spurs have won the Football League Cup of 1971. 2 goals by the number 9, Martin Chivers, after they were under pressure for so very long from Aston Villa. Here's Billy Nicholson in the centre of that picture, manager of victorious Spurs, the skipper Alan Mullery and the skipper Brian Godfrey. Spurs so long to find their form, and congratulations there from Eddie Bailey, for Martin Chivers, and from Billy Nicholson as well, Cecil Poynton, and Wembley rising to Aston Villa. There's Sidney Wale, the Spurs chairman, having a word with Brian Godfrey, as you saw a moment ago. Bruce Rioch, Pete Bradley. Congratulations to the gallant losers, Aston Villa, and who would deny them that? So it'll be Alan Mullery then to get the Football League Cup from Her Royal Highness Princess Alexandra. A kiss for the cup, and there you are, White Hart Lane. 2 goals when all the worry lines were beginning to show on their faces. Here's Martin Peters and Cyril Knowles. Tremendous cheering for Aston Villa.
Well, I don't like to talk too much about individuals, but I think I must do today, and I must say that Martin Chivers was a very powerful player for us. So much as to say that he won the game for Tottenham today.
It was a good movement, but I think before the goal, I thought Jimmy would have got a good shot in, as he did, and the goalkeeper, I think it hit his legs. I'm not sure. I think it hit his leg and came out, or his hand, and came out to me, and I couldn't believe my luck because it was just me, the goal, and one defender, and then I didn't really blast it. I had to place it, but those are the ones you dread missing. But you're expected to get them in. I think I was bound to score. Really.
Upsets and fallen hopes. West Bromwich Albion were favourites in 67. Arsenal were favourites in 69. Chelsea were favourites last year, and all of them lost. So that must give some encouragement to these Norwich lads as they come onto the Wembley turf for the first time in their career. The teams to be presented here to the Earl of Harwood, Honorary Vice President of the FA, a lifelong supporter of Leeds United, first going along the Tottenham line. take it back, please.
Hey,
Take it back, please. Having a word with Mike England, who had that troublesome knee, a knock that he got last week. Cyril Knowles and Martin Chivers scored twice here for Spurs in the League Cup final 2 years ago against Aston Villa. Now it's the turn of Norwich City with their skipper Duncan Force. Max Briggs there, and Jim Blair beyond him has only had one full first team game, the tall fellow there, third from the left. A whole mass of fans, some 35,000 of them have come up from East Anglia to support the Canaries here at Wembley. Now let's catch up on the two teams for this Football League Cup final. On the left, Norwich City, unchanged. Side here that will spoil and fight and do its best to stifle Spurs. Two men mainly in the front, David Cross and Jim Blair. Cross, their top scorer, with 12 goals. And players like Graham Padden, who scored 10, will be one of the midfield workers for them. And Spurs, the scare with Mike England is over. They too can be unchanged. I suppose the man that Norwich will fear most must be Martin Chivers, with 5 goals in his last 5 games, and has been the top scorer in the Football League Cup in the last 2 seasons, each time with 7 goals. The referee today is the man who refereed the FA Cup final last season, David Smith of Gloucester, with his linesmen Mr. Thacker of Lincoln and Mr. Fly of Pontypridd. David Smith having checked with both linesmen that all is in order. Norwich get us away. The 1973 Football League Cup final. Knowles putting it straight back to Pat Jennings, wearing a jersey of royal blue. Norwich defending the goal to our left in their shirts of canary yellow, green shorts. Spurs all in white. Perryman, Gilzine. Nice stab off there for Perryman again. Played good, accurate football there by Tottenham, but there was a foul by Max Briggs on Steve Perryman. And a tough midfield worker there, Perryman, getting chopped down by another tough midfield player, Max Briggs. Now it's Knowles. Knowles coming in again. Perryman. Kinnear's gone away on the right for him. And Perryman spotted him well. Cross towards Gilzine again. Pearce is right in there, and it was Peters! And Keelan, if anything, maybe a fraction of a second late in reacting to that one. Spurs at the moment looking the more confident. Pratt. Ron Saunders, the Norwich City manager, will be suspecting, I think, that the longer his side can hold out against Spurs, the better their chance will be. Things going exactly to Norwich's plan of contesting everything in the middle of the field and not allowing Spurs to get going and hoping for a breakaway themselves. And here's Cross, but he really should have found Padden there. And on the ground, as he turned on that Wembley turf, John Pratt might well have twisted his knee, and he wouldn't be the first victim of that sort of thing at Wembley. Certainly Pratt, one of the younger Spurs players too, who is Tottenham's insurance, I suppose, against any sort of complacency amongst the side. He and Perryman, who are tremendously young and ambitious players who will fight so hard today. David Stringer, number 4, voted Norwich's Player of the Year last year. Well, John Pratt, just a little fright, no more. A little niggle on that knee. Gilzine now. Briggs getting their head to it. Padden. Butler. And Blair offside. Offside. The linesman was flagging way before Blair got in his shot. And I don't think there was much doubt that he was offside. Well, it'll be heartbreak for this fellow who has battled and battled and battled right through the season in the middle of the field for Spurs. His great day of glory. 20-odd minutes of it gone, and it looks as though he's got to go off. Beale towards Chivers. He was being pulled back there. Well, that's an incredible decision because he was being pulled back by Duncan Forbes. Coates looks as though he wants to come on now. And poor John Pratt. A tragic moment for him, being applauded off by the referee, who must realise the feeling out there at Wembley this afternoon. And so Ralph Coates is on. That'll be a slight readjustment in the Spurs side, maybe. Commiserations there from Eddie Bailey and from Bill Nicholson. Kinnear's header. Now Perryman. Pearce beautifully changing the course of the play there to find Ralph Coates. Butler backing away. Coates going on. That looks suspiciously out of play from this distance, but the referee was the linesman was directly in line. Pearce good play. Coates again. The Spurs crowd getting a little irritated, wanting Coates to cross it quicker. But it's another throw, and another Chivers long throw. And again, Mike England has gone in. And in fact, it's almost there. Peters nodded away by a couple of Norwich City defenders. And the closest anybody's been to a goal yet. Kinnear with the header and Norwich with the throw. Stringer kicking rather wildly from behind Gilzine, but it's given Norwich possession with Payne. The cross again towards Cross, and Padden is going in, and Jennings had to go down. In all the bundling there between Coates and Padden, Jennings went down, saw that ball, somehow got his body behind it. Padden was injured in the melee there. Spurs were saved by their goalkeeper. Not that Jennings was to know, but the whistle must have gone fractionally before it for a free kick. Butler straight at Coates. Coates to Gilzine, and off to Ralph Coates again. Again for Gilzine. Kinnear following in. Pearce back for Perryman. For Pearce again, and now Coates. Back on his heels there. A little slow in starting for that one, and Butler was able to make the clearance. But it's another throw for Spurs, and Chivers already advancing that direction. So another long, effortless throw there by Martin Chivers. Lower trajectory that time. Gilzine turning on it! And just as well for Norwich that Keelan gathered that one, with Peters and Pearce right on his tail. Throw. Martin Peters waiting for someone to become available. It'll be Jimmy Pearce. But then he decides it should be Alan Gilzine. And again, Stringer kicking wildly from behind Alan Gilzine and giving Spurs another free kick. Again it's Knowles with his accurate left foot. Played again towards Chivers and Gilzine going in, and Keelan again grabbing it for keeps. Blair to Briggs. Pearce. Chivers getting his head to that one and reacting quicker and being pulled back. The worst kind of professional foul by Duncan Forbes, and he's going to be put for it. And you can't argue other than that David Smith is absolutely right. Duncan Forbes, the mildest of men off the field. I don't know what argument he's got, because he was physically pulling Chivers back, who was through. So the first name goes into the book. It's that of Norwich's number 5, Duncan Forbes. Noticeable how very quickly Chivers reacted to that ball, and it's now Knowles with the free kick, making very little of it. Very shallow one, nodded away by Briggs, and now it's with England. Coates turned inside again for Perryman. And Coates looking out there, hoping that somebody was out there. I think Perryman thought that he should have been. Livermore. And certainly with their limited ambition so far, you can only say that Norwich are playing it exactly as they intended to. Stumbling a little bit, Perryman going in as though his life depended on it, and now England finding Pearce. On now for Chivers. Now can Chivers react to this one? Good piece of defensive play there by Buckler, and it looks as though he might well have twisted his knee on the turn as well. That really was about the first time that Chivers has been allowed to go free. He was almost free when Forbes pulled him back a moment before. Kevin Keelan, who's looked so sure for Norwich this afternoon, said he had two ambitions in football when he started out. One was to play against Stanley Matthews, and he did that when he was way back with Aston Villa, and the second was to play at Wembley, and that most certainly is what he's doing today. Kevin Keelan. And Philip Beale's ambition, I suppose, is to urge Spurs towards a goal now. This is what they'll be hoping to do in the last seconds of the first half with this corner. Gilzean coming away, and England was in there a shade before anybody else, but wide of the Norwich net. And there goes the whistle for half-time, with the progress report, I suppose. Frustration in the first 45 minutes for Spurs, and everything going according to plan so far for Norwich City. No goals. Pat Jennings without too much to do. One good save there as Patton went through. And Duncan Forbes, solid at the back, as indeed is Kevin Keelan for Norwich, but Forbes with his name taken. Here's Keelan. And so a half-time score at Wembley Stadium that reads in this Football League Cup final of 1973, Norwich 0, Spurs 0. David Smith makes sure that everything again is ready for the start of the second half, and this time Spurs kicking off 0-0. By no means a classic cup final. We can hope for something maybe a little better in this second half. Coates now for Spurs. Certainly Norwich would, I suppose, be feeling a little more confident than they were at the start. Came here as great underdogs, but they've held Spurs well. They've played very successfully to a plan. And Livermore getting this one away. Blair turning it in. Kinnear back for Perryman. That scuttling run and the pass that is accurate there for Knowles. The cross again, this time towards Gilzean. Kinnear the high one. Peters poised beneath it. And this time Stringer again, not really getting it away. Kinnear again. This time for Coates. Well, he somehow muddled his way through it, and it's with Perryman once more. Now with Kinnear. And again, the lofted ball there. Gilzean to Chivers. And Pearce hitting it first time on the volley. But without really any power. Livermore. Cross. And now Coates. Well, it's nice to see somebody taking on a defender, and Coates went just as far as he could, and he still found Martin Peters. Crossed again towards Gilzean. Pearce! Oh, and against the outside of the post and behind. Pearce by no means caught it the way he wanted to, but it came across, and it was some good work by Coates. And Pearce almost turning it in to put Spurs ahead. The Norwich fans' hearts in their mouths, but here's Keelan with the goal kick. Beale. Gilzean to Perryman. That might give Spurs a bit of encouragement now. Forbes under a lot of pressure now from Chivers, but he's again sticking to it well and saves the corner. Tottenham's throw though, and I think it'd probably be a long one by Chivers. He was already there on the spot. And again, Mike England's going forward. Again, a lower one. Chivers with the back heel. Now Mike England hoping to get in. Coates hoping to blast it in. And Coates has done it. Ralph Coates. A beautiful shot by Coates. Coates. And again the long throw has put Norwich in trouble. Nodded out, and finally coming to Ralph Coates. With 18 minutes left, the substitute scores a cracking goal. Coates, who has had such a long time to work himself into the Tottenham way of doing things, was disappointed badly at only being a substitute, is the hero of this crowd now. And now it's Norwich on the break with Briggs. And it's a cross again, and cross goes in. Padden gamely coming up on the outside. Graham Padden, tremendous play by him. And a dangerous overhead kick by Cross, giving Spurs a chance to collect themselves again and get a free kick. Billy Nicholson showing no emotion, but you would really know him never to show emotion. All he wants is more effort. Ron Saunders a bit disappointing for him. Now he's telling his side to come up more. And indeed Norwich must open it out now. The stifling has got to stop. And now they've got to make chances for themselves. Padden, Blair with his arm in the air, getting his header down. Pearce thought about passing that back to Jennings, but that would have been dangerous. And that at least is safe for the moment, but it's with Livermore. Blair is down and injured in the area. Anderson was right up. And Perryman now to bring it away again for Tottenham. That should set Chivers' legs going. Forbes there with him. And Chivers now on the rampage again. Right foot and straight at Kevin Keelan. But as Norwich start flinging a few men forward, so Chivers might have a little more room to exploit his place against that of Forbes. Blair is still injured on the edge of that Spurs penalty area. Beginning to take his tracksuit off, Trevor Howard, and it looks as though Blair might be helped off. So when they need a little more striking force, it's a striker who goes off. Trevor Howard, perhaps better known as a midfield player, scorer of 2 goals this season. Having his studs inspected by referee David Smith, who's had a good cup final, David Smith. So here's Howard. And away goes Blair. And there's a little bit of anxiety about Spurs now as Payne turns it in once more. A good one, and a very good catch, and he's lost it. And Perryman winkling it away. And Kinnear, who finally got it away, but Pat Jennings under a lot of pressure there, caught it and lost it. Duncan Forbes. High again there, Cross is homing in on it, but might England away to Kinnear. Butler again. Then finally Chivers sticks out a long leg, and it's with Coates once more. Chivers not quite getting to that one, but Peters picking up the loose one, and it's with Pearce. Knowles outside it, and it was beautifully played there for Cyril Knowles. The cross, oh, against the post. Chivers, no. Screaming shot there from Knowles, who had scored only 1 goal previously this season, and he thought a dream was coming true there with another one at Wembley. So much then for these tremendous underdogs. They've given Spurs a fright or two, so much so that the Spurs fans are already beginning to whistle to give a hint to the referee David Smith, but there are still a couple of minutes to go, and it's with Butler, the number 3. And And a corner given because that must have bobbled off the Spurs defender. And it's not all up yet. Norwich now piling everybody forward. Duncan Forbes right up there. If talking could win matches, he'd be a winner every week, I would think. He never gives up. Anderson with the header. Howard also trying to get in, but again it was the fist of Jennings. Two Spurs players are down as it's crossed again towards Duncan Forbes, and just a fraction wide. And a little few recriminations in that Spurs defence. Forbes was just a fraction away with that one. Philip Beale was having a go at Alan Gilzine, maybe for not picking up Forbes. And Forbes, I think, sensing that might have been a golden chance that has gone forever. Knowles, a high ball forward, and that's it! And Spurs have won the cup that they won 2 years ago, and they've become the first side ever to win it twice. The only goal of the League Cup final of 1973 going to the number 12, the substitute Ralph Coates. Ron Saunders and Billy Nicholson, the two managers going out. Great respect for each other. And so Spurs have done it. They kept plugging away at that Norwich defence, and nobody more so than Steve Perryman. There's a plug for the big match. It was a big match here today that never quite fulfilled all the expectations. But with the likes of Perryman, and before he went off so tragically, John Pratt, and Mike England at the back, and Pat Jennings as well, Spurs just about had the edge, translated by that single goal from Ralph Coates. So Duncan Forbes gets a tankard from, there's the Spurs chairman, Sidney Wale, from the Earl of Harwood. Norwich, you put up a brave fight, says the scoreboard, and who on earth at Wembley this afternoon could argue with that? So Spurs have done it again. And Martin Peters forgot his tackle. Mike England, magnificent at the back. But who's the real hero, of course? The man who scores the winner, Ralph Coates. And after so many disappointments at White Hart Lane, good to see it work out for him as well. Cyril Knowles, Jimmy Pearce, Steve Perryman, Joe Kinnear, Martin Chivers, so beautifully marked all afternoon by Duncan Forbes, Pat Jennings, some marvellous catching by him, and the unluckiest man, I suppose, at Wembley, John Pratt. Wembley for him went 20 minutes before the agony of a twisted knee. Commiserations from the Spurs chairman and Philip Beale. So the Wembley team have done it again. The cup final specialists go into Europe again next season, certainly as holders of the Football League Cup, and they give it to Ralph Coates, the man who's come out of the shadows to steal the headlines with the winning goal at Wembley. A tankard in his hand and a cup on his head. That's the picture of a winner, Ralph Coates.